Welcome to Brainstorm MTG. I am ELD, and this is Fast Effect Double Speed Magic the Gathering. Legacy this time from Scholars Games. This is part of our Wednesday night series. I am on Tin Fins, a very spicy brew. One that I'll likely be playing this Saturday at our larger Mox event. I'm sorry, Dual Land event. Dual Land's basically the price, more than the price that Moxes were back in the day. They are really getting up there and a key part of so many legacy decks. And here we have a basic swamp, totally wasteland proof, and that's going to Entomb a Griselbrand. Being on the play here, a bit of a luxury versus Czech pile. Deathrite Shaman going to be much less of a factor here. Doesn't look like Kyle actually has the Deathrite. And going to go ahead and hopefully be able to get Griselbrand into play here. Going to start with an Exhume. And that's going to be met with a Brainstorm. And that means that this game might be over pretty rapidly here if Kyle doesn't have Force of Will. He's going to have a turn 2 Griselbrand. It looks like Force was the third card down there. It is sticking around, pitching to another Brainstorm, so he is still in this game. And Deathrite Shaman coming down. Thoughtseize showing double Kolgan's command. So not a great hand versus this type of deck. Shallow Grave coming in. Returning Griselbrand, and we are off to the races. Hitting for 7. And gonna draw 7 cards here. Gonna do it again. Vampire Hexmage, Exhume. Now, I have already played a land, so making a 20/20 off of Dark Depths a little bit of a problem. That land was used for Thoughtseize. Going down to just 3 life here. Unmask, pitching Vampire. Nope. Gonna go ahead and get the worst card there. Pitching Thoughtseize. Takes out the other Kolgan's command. And Lotus Petal being used to power out Dark Ritual, Entomb. And now that Children's in the graveyard, already lost 25 life here. So Children's going to be a 25 life point swing here, and that's going to allow for some serious card draw off of Griselbrand again. The next time Griselbrand is helped out by Children, it will be closer to 50 life. And double Dark Ritual here. Shallow Grave. And kind of shortcutting things here. Could draw some more cards just for kicks, but trying to make this as streamlined as possible. Gaining a ton of life, and then Living Wish, cracking Lion's Eye Diamond in response, discarding like 40 cards, but those 40 cards are nowhere near as good here as our friend Lab Maniac. He's getting cast. 2 more draw activations from Griselbrand, and that's going to do it. Lab Maniac picking up a check mark for game 1. Nice little turn 3 win. Felt fast. But 3 turns is, kind of reasonable for a combo deck in this format. Kyle did have some time to build his defenses. He had a Force of Will. Deathrite Shaman a little late. If Shaman was able to impact the graveyard, would have been a very different game. That was not the case. Deathrite could have, of course, stopped Griselbrand from entering in the first place. And it can also break up the combo with Children, removing the singleton Children and forcing me to use Living Wish to go get another Children, which of course is a much more mana intensive process. Requiring green and white mana. Very messy. Deathrite Shaman, one of the biggest threats to this type of deck. That's why it plays the Silent Gravestone out of the sideboard. Also has access to Pithing Needle that doesn't always come in. I think Pithing Needle much more likely to come in when your opponent has both Deathrite Shaman and Wasteland. Of course, Wasteland, a great way to break up the Dark Depths combo. Though in these particular type of Dark Depths decks, compared to the traditional lands builds that use just Thespian Stage, having access to Vampire Hexmage can really complicate the situation. You're going to be able to activate Thespian Stage targeting Dark Depths, force them to use their Wasteland, and then you can respond with your Vampire Hexmage. So you can kind of trump their Wastelands by having multiple ways of creating your 2020. As long as you have more ways than they have Wastelands, you're still going to be able to walk out of there with a Merit Lage and likely the win, as that 2020 is pretty difficult to deal with once he gets on board. Indestructible. Most common ways of dealing with him are typically going to be something along the lines of a Jace bounce, maybe a Swords to Plowshares, but again, letting your opponent gain 20 life, especially in a deck that uses Griselbrand, is a bit dicey. Kyle leading out with Thoughtseize, and it's kind of like, which card do you want me to draw off the top of my deck? He sees Dark Ritual, Vampire Hexmage, Lotus Petal, Shallow Grave, and we've got Lotus Petal into Dark Ritual, and just jamming the Hexmage now. So one black will be floating, and force pitching Snapcaster Mage. So Thespian Sage, Shallow Grave still in hand. Would have been the right play to wait if that card is actually Dark Depths, which is what that bluff looked like. Then it may have been better to wait. But here we go with Hymn to Torok, so perhaps not. We'll see. It was a Dark Depths. One card left in hand. Losing Vampire Hexmage to a card like Hymn to Torok, not as damaging as it may appear on the surface, because Shallow Grave could just get it back. See if this more aggressive line ends up being a problem. That Dark Ritual, also a card that could have been discarded to Hymn to Torok without being too damaging. Dark Depths, really the only card that you didn't want discarded for sure. That was central to this whole line, was getting that Dark Depths onto the board. Deathrite Shaman's really starting to wreak havoc. Kyle. Green and black. So the green, of course, is going to be able to remove creatures and give Kyle a little bit of life. And then on the other side, setting a very significant clock, a 4-turn clock here. So Thespian Stage actually copied that Bayou, and what that's allowed is Living Wish to be fired off. That's going to get forced. So 4 mana going to be necessary for this Dark Depths combo. That is available now, so Living Wish again. This is going to be able to get the Dark Depths. One could be over in fast effect. Thespian Stage, you're going to be able to target that Dark Depths, making a 20/20. Right now, Kyle totally defenseless against that. You're going to need to find, I mean, pretty much just Baleful Strix in order to buy enough time. He needs 4 more turns of Deathrite Shaman activations in order to actually win the game. Deathrites can swing back in the other direction, gaining life if enough creatures get into the graveyard, push outside of that 20/20 lethal range. But it's a lot to ask for. Ponder being fired off again. And there's a Jace the Mind Sculptor. And that is not gonna do it there. Very interesting. So 2020 gonna be able to be made during the end step. Now, Baleful Strix with that Jace the Mind Sculptor is very useful because it'll be able to block that Merit Lage. No more Living Wish. If we have Living Wish, Sylvan Safekeeper would be very important. And just making a 20/20 during the end step. Those Deathrite Shamans posing a very real clock. So during the end step, he'll be able to drain then during his turn. So it is actually now or never. So really just not enough time there because of Deathrite's consistent clock, just draining 4 per turn. So Kyle really picking up game 2 there on the back of Deathrite Shaman. A little bit of an inevitability on Tinfin's side, trumped by just the consistent draining of Deathrite Shaman. To continue that game out, Sylvan Safekeeper would have been able to come down, protect the Merit Lage, be able to swing for 20 through the air. That all gets tossed out the window, go to 0, and that's exactly what ended up happening there. Deathrite kind of going aggro there, finding a way to close the door to what looked like a very solid situation for this Tinfin's list. Going into game 3. Tinfin's on the play, very useful, very explosive deck. Deck pile does have a lot of cards that are fairly suboptimal type of matchup. A lot of Lion's Eye Diamonds and Exhumes, and a Silent Gravestone, like Urborg and Scrubland. Not really a great hand. Nice thing about the triple Lion's Eye Diamond is you could actually Living Wish for Griselbrand and just straight up cast him off of the 9 mana you'd get. Silent Gravestone also potentially really useful. And it looks like that's being thrown back. Top card would have been Griselbrand, which would have allowed for a turn 2 Exhume of Griselbrand. That would have been a fairly all-in line. Getting trumped by Force of Will. But, you know, once Griselbrand's in the graveyard, you've got a lot of live draws. So we'll see where this goes. This hand looks a little bit better from a traditional perspective. It's going to be going turn 1 Dark Ritual, Entomb. And choosing to force on the Exhume is interesting. Entomb might be the better card to counterspell there. I do have Griselbrand in my graveyard now, so now all future reanimate effects, either Shallow Grave or Exhume, are going to be potential game enders. And just the lone Scrubland back in play that was in both hands. Really, Bayou is the dual land you actually want, and we can see why because of the Living Wish in hand. That card, very useful in assembling either combo. You've got all of your combo pieces in the sideboard. You're pretty much playing 3 ofs across the board with Vampire Hexmage, Thespian Sage, Dark Depths, Griselbrand. And of course, you've got your Lab Maniac, Sylvan Safekeeper there as well to try and pull the combos together. Kyle just kind of steadily moving forward here. Baleful Strix, drawing a card. Almost kind of gaining him, 20 life or so for each Baleful Strix. Each one of those are cards that are going to need to be played around. And here comes Exhume. And another Force of Will. This time exiling Jace the Mind Sculptor, which would have threatened to really take over the game and start to generate some serious card advantage or just keep me away from anything useful. Him to Torok. And again, Tin Fin's finding itself with just one card in hand. This time, though, just one land. Really going to be tough. Looking at a 6-turn clock with Deathrite Shaman and Baleful Strix chipping away here. And a Thoughtseize. That's going to take the Living Witch, leaving just 2 Dark Rituals. Thespian Stage coming in. Now Dark Depths does create a 20/20 off of the back of one of those rituals. And there's Leovold. And the clock has greatly accelerated now. Got essentially a 2-turn clock. And Urborg comes down. And I think this is actually going to do it here. Draining, going down to 6. Attack for 4 and drain one more time with Deathrite Shaman. Leovold really accelerating the plan. And Czech Pile taking out Tin Fins in 3 games. That's all for this one. If you enjoyed the video, please help grow the channel by subscribing. You'll be notified when we upload new videos like Fast Effect, Double Speed Magic with commentary, or Untapped, our raw tournament gameplay. Thanks for watching.